So I'm doing this intro before I've actually started a new Zerocalcare series. I didn't know there was going to be a new series. I wasn't expecting there to be anything new with this project, but here we are, and I'm really curious about what this is going to be about because the last one left a really huge impression on me, as many if you already know. So I was curious what this was going to be about. I've never seen a cartoonist, a comic, write stories about their own life, never done it in an autobiography type of way. Most creators rather do something to portray a different life and maybe take elements from their life and embellish it a lot for a public audience. But no, these are non-fictional stories animated in a way where you won't get bored. I think it's kind of similar to animated storytelling on YouTube when that was really big, except way more animated. So I don't know, I was just curious because as somebody who's also a shut-in, how does he have so many experiences about his life to have such a longevity in his career? I guess it comes with age. I'm not really sure, but I'm genuinely curious. So let's just go ahead and see what This World Can't Tear Me Down is about. If you want a quick description of the show before I get into the actual topic, this is an Italian cartoon show created by cartoonist and comic Zerocalcare. He tends to write and draw about his experiences in his mundane, anxiety-filled, social awkwardly stained life. This is going to be a review, but I also want it to be another learning about myself, which would help me justify this video being on the main channel rather than the second channel at this point, where I have been putting a lot of episode and season reviews at. You guys should go check that out if you will. It would help me out a lot. How does this series help us learn more about ourselves? How does this teach us about life? Let's watch and find out together. This series is already starting off very different from the previous. While in the other series it was more direct. Zero was talking directly to the audience more about the specific experience that occurred within there, while in here it's more indirect and he's talking to a police officer in an interrogation room because he and his friends got arrested for some reason we don't know yet. This series mixes politics and introspective themes in a way that's almost too real to be real, if that makes sense. It starts off with this refugee home moving in because other places haven't been so nice to these refugees, aka in a very much so not in my country kind of way, which is almost too much for me to handle already, because the not in my country people are not being called fascists, they're being called another word that was very big in the World War II days, and some people still carry those beliefs to this day, sadly. I can't believe it's still a thing. Since we all know this is an autobiography, we all know this stems from real world issues. More specifically, the refugee issues that have plagued Europe and more specifically Italy for a little while at this point. According to Rescue.org, Italy hosts and houses about 41% of refugees that come through Europe, which is almost 500,000 people, including a lot of kids who are alone. These people are just trying to find a home, somewhere to belong, but there's people out there, out here, who see them as less than humans and get super pissed off that the government would help out someone like that instead of helping them out. So now there's this mini civil war going on between the bad, not in my country people versus the human rights and decency people. But at the same time this is going on, an old friend of Zero's named Cesare has also recently moved back in, and Zero does and doesn't want to catch up with him. Sarah's also finally got her dream job of being a teacher. There's this theme going around about finding yourself within this series, which can be seen in some flashbacks that Zero has with Cesare, where he mentions that people have always seen him as a bully and tough guy, so that's always been a role he ends up playing in life, but their relationship was different. They actually talked about things normal quote-unquote men would have never been able to talk about at the time. As we all know, I've already shared my opinions on how I feel about traditional gendered values in my BoJack Horseman video because I was going through it at the time, but these types of situations happen a lot where you're forced to be in a role because of stereotypes, because of how everyone else sees and treats you. Knowing you at least have one friend that sees you as more can change everything about you, or it couldn't, and you two could end up growing distant with one another. They also hint towards the fact that Cesare might be gay, or at least curious, because he had a very explicit dream, but he adamantly denies it, saying he's not an F-slur, which is... let's just talk about it now. So there are a few words in here that are used and probably shouldn't be used, but I think it makes sense within context and it being an autobiography of what he actually experienced. These are actual events that went down, what actual people have said to him, around him, but it's still wild that it's in here. But also, it's a different country with different cultures and viewpoints on certain stuff. And I think they didn't take it too far. It wasn't overly used, it just shocked me that it was used in general. They also teased using one of the N-words, but stopped because, rightfully so, even if these are real occurrences and conversations that happen, it would be way too much and make the show seem more shocking and edgy rather than it being raw and real. I also thought this would fit better here, so I'm gonna go ahead and say it now. Zero ends up going on a spiel about what it was like for gay people and just different people in general when he was growing up. The crutch of it was, if you could beat somebody up or was intimidated enough, you could be open about whatever you want to be. But if you were a small, tiny guy, you'd probably get beat up about being different, and yeah, I know what that's like. Not the getting beat up part. I've had friends in school that were bullied and such, but I was never really bothered for being different because I'm a big black guy, even back then in school, and no one really wanted to test me, even though my arms were covered with like 200 colorful armbands and I used to rock so many chains. It's so weird that society is and was like that, and even worse in some cases. Just let everybody be their weird little selves. How hard is that? Unless you want everybody to look like bad CGI background characters in an anime. Zero throughout these days have been constantly taking down the Not My Country posters off of the refugee walls, to the point where when he does it one night, he ends up being seen by the Not My Country people and is on the verge of being jumped until...
Listen, Zero, I don't know if you've been tearing our posters down, but I can only save you the once. You better get the fuck out of here.
Cesare stops his fans from beating him up. Yes, Cesare is a Not My Country person, which is wild. Zero now has to deal with the emotional frustrations that comes with realizing how different people can change after a long time. How wrong of a crowd people can get swept up in. Maybe it's even something he's always had behind the scenes but just never blatantly told people about it before. Zero just has to go confront him and see why and how could this happen, and oh my God. Cesare goes on his rants about nobody liking him or wanting to talk to him or wanting to even be in his life anymore after he's been back from rehab after 20 years. But these bad people do. Even the government, they care about these refugees, but they've never done anything for him. It's wild. Zero can't believe what he is hearing, and hell, neither can I. It's kind of hard to process the words that are being said and how heartfelt they feel. Like, he himself really believes this. He feels broken and abandoned by his own country. He feels like he's been pushed aside so much that he has to side with these Not My Country bad people to get his point across. They're the only people that get him. Zero would go on to get a similar verbal beatdown from Sarah of all people, his beacon, his guiding light, because she too has sided with the Not My Country folk, because with the refugees moved in, the school she just got her dream job at is being shut down, and she doesn't want that to be ripped away from her. I really like this argument and the last one because since this is an autobiography, the last show actually happened and it's a canon event. I don't know why that's the thing, but it's something canonical that happened outside the show and within the show itself, which just makes the show feel more real to me, if that makes sense. It sucks to say it, but there are actual people out here in this world that will dismiss you trying to do good things just because you're a famous person, and what right do you have to put your 2 cents in here if you've already made it? You're sitting here flaunting your money to me. It sucks that that's stuff that's actually being said towards people that just want to help. Obviously, if something's a PR stunt, you know, it just comes with the territory, but not everything is a PR stunt. Not everything is something that people are trying to manipulate you into making you believe. You know? The success he got from the show hasn't gone to his head, but it's in the head of others. More specifically, Sarah. She feels like she's been in the background all her life. Her role has always been the one to help others succeed, while she has been chained down to a post her whole life. And the one moment she finally thinks she's going somewhere, it's now on the verge of being shut down. And again, Zero's beyond lost for words during this heated conversation. It really brings into perspective that putting people in categories of right or left is kind of dumb, because of course there are going to be bad eggs on both ends, But everyone has their own struggles, and it's hard to shrink it down to just being right or wrong because things get confusing. There's a muddy gray area. People's opinions change when something is affecting them personally, and that's what we're seeing now. The voting for the refugees to stay or leave is about to begin, and Zero's feeling a bit overwhelmed. The protesters are preparing for a fight that they are ready and willing to go down swinging for. Does he have the right to be here with them doing this? Well, people think he's looking down on them because he has this newly found status based off of his Netflix show. Then the real message of the show arrives. Everyone has their problems, but it doesn't give you the right to justify your shitty personality or way of viewing the world on it. There's something inherently satisfying doing something the right way or doing something that's morally right. Everyone comes from different walks of life. Everyone has their individual struggles and successes. It doesn't matter if you wrote a successful Netflix series or just got fired from your dream job. Your opinions and morality matters just as much as the next person. I think Hannah Montana put it best when she said, "Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days." This whole thing was crazy. I'm going to leave out the tail ending just in case you made it this far and haven't seen the series. Just watch it for yourself. It's only 6 episodes. Because the message is the most important thing to me for this video. The rest of it is just wrapping up the story that we're telling. I really appreciate this series for a lot of things. One, because it didn't have to cover a topic as touchy as this one, but it did. And it relished in the fact that it did. But thematically, it didn't deter from what the last series was about. You can really chop all of the themes down to finding yourself and your place in this world. But if you truly want to look for more, you can. It's true, you're just a single blade of grass in the field, but each blade of grass has their own story to tell, their own opinions to share, their own viewpoints to have about situations. And they'll be able to tell those stories singing through the winds as they drift away. Thank you. I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was my pleasure to come back here and look at another one of Zerocalcare's series. It was, I don't know, just nice. It was just nice. And I wonder what your opinions are about this series. It was really nice seeing a lot of comments come back and just overall throughout the years seeing all the comments on the last video about this one. And I can't wait to see what the comments have to say about this one. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you guys, and I hope you guys watch more of my videos, you know? Do that. But with that being said, I'll see each and every one of you around next time. Goodbye.